Hello, Akko here. Welcome to a little video on Applied Energistics 2 P2P Tunnels. This is a viewer request. A couple of people have asked me to do videos on this. I'm still learning this myself, and I'm learning new stuff every time I do something slightly different. So apologies if I get something major wrong with this. If I do get something major wrong, please let me know in the comments. And if it's really badly wrong, I shall scrap this video and I shall redo a fresh one once I know what I'm doing. There will be certainly things slightly wrong in this. I'm sure I'll make a couple of mistakes in this video. I've done several takes of this. In fact, I made this video a couple of days ago and I realised I'd had things completely wrong, so I've learned a bit more since then. But I think I'm getting my head around it. So, without further ado, let's jump into it. So, P2P networks, P2P tunneling, should I say. We've got an Applied Energistics 2 network here, a nice little simple one. I've got a ME chest. I'm using a creative energy cell and a ME controller. Anything more than 8 channels, you need an ME controller. So for this demonstration, we need a controller. For smaller networks, less than 8 channels, you don't actually need that bit. And this creative energy cell is just helping me out, but you could use an energy acceptor with normal RF power. If you've got a controller, you can put power straight into this. You don't need the energy acceptor. But for this case, this is going to be our little mini network here. And what we've got is we've got some iron ore that we've just been mined, and we want to process it into iron ingots. So the way we're going to do that is we've got 8 SAG mills here, and we've got 8 alloy smelters, and on these we've got an export bus on each one. So we've got there's 8 export buses, 16 export buses. On the back we've got 8 import buses, 8 import buses, so 16, 32. So if we connect this up with a bit of dense cable, what we're going to see is this is going to connect, and we're using all 32 of our channels here. So there's your basic ME network. We're using all 32 channels off that face. We could have another 32 channels off there, another 32 off there, another 32 off there, another 32 off the bottom. But as it's going, if this is in one side of our factory and our processing is in the other side of our factory, we're going to have to run this dense cable all the way to our processing area to sort this out. Now, what we don't want is to do that. So what we can do is we can use P2P tunnels. Now, in the most basic form, this is what a P2P tunnel can do for you. If we connect one on there and one on there, then we need to connect this with a bit of cable. So I'm going to use orange to make it a bit easier to understand. You don't have to use a different colour, just makes things easier. We've connected that to that. Now what we want to do is use a memory card. You shift right click on one, right click on the other. They're connected. Still not going to work because this LAN hasn't got any power. So for that, what we need to use is a bit of quartz fibre. That's this stuff that you use to make your basic cables out of. Now quartz fibre is going to be used as a bridge to connect, let's call it our red network, to this little orange sub network that we're going to use between the P2Ps. So there we go. That is going to connect, and that's going to connect, and there we go, we're back in business again. So nothing's changed here. So this here is exactly the same as it was before. We're still using 32 channels. So in your processing room, you're still using 32 channels up. In your ME controller, this face is still using 32 channels up. The difference is now, in between our processing room and our controller, we have got a single cable here that's only using 2 channels. So what we could use is we could use it for more channels. Now, I want to stress, you're not actually gaining any channels here. If I was to, for example, if I was to put another P2P tunnel there and then connect that also to this. So I didn't shift click on there again because it was already set to that one. So this now is also connected to there. And now we've got 3 things on here, yeah? If I was to put some cable down here and a ME terminal on that. Now that's come on LAN. You can see there in Whaler at the top of my screen, devices on LAN. But if we look down our list, our row of things here, see that end one? It's gone white there instead of red. That guy's lost a channel. So we've still only got 32 channels. We've got 31 running down there. We've got 1 running off here to that. So that you can see, same as what that can see, because it's got a channel. But down there, that white indicator on the export bus shows that we've lost our connection to that. If we take this off again, you should see that change colour back to red, and it has, and that's changed its colour back to 32, and we are running 32 channels again. So It doesn't seem that on the surface that useful, does it? But let's carry on. We're only using 2 channels on this. We can use all 8, we just need to do it slightly different. Now what we could do is, yeah, I'll do it like that. What we could do is, let's break that guy, and let's get 3 more P2P tunnels on that ME controller there, like so. And we still need to connect this to power. Because this is a creative energy cell, we could just go like that. And that's going to work fine. No, we couldn't. No, I don't want to do that. That's it looked like it took a channel. We don't want it to. Well, no, it didn't. No, yeah, that should work fine. Oops. Because this is just an energy cell and putting out energy, that should work fine. What we can do this end is 1, 2, 3, and we can go 1, 2, 3. And what we should see here this is messing me up. Let's get rid of that. Let's do the same as we had before. There we go, that's more like it. So yeah, that was messing things up. So what I've done is moved that back, still connected to the power via the quartz fibre. So this little orange network, yeah, that's what was happening. This was connecting the orange network to the main network, and we need to have it separate. So yeah, first little mistake, first big mistake there, I suppose. So our main network is still red, our main network over here is still red. This orange is our little sub-network, let's call it, our P2P sub-network. Now, if you remember, our memory card is linked to that one there. So if I link this to it, and do that thing again with the terminal, we're still going to have the same issue, that we're going to lose our export bus over there. You can see it's lit up. That's no good. What I can do though is, if I shift click on this one, and now link this one to this one, that's going to be online, and you can see in our terminal. If you look over there, that's back online. So what we've done here is, we've got another 32 channels. And we're still only using this single cable, so this single cable could be running from right over there. And instead of a dense cable that's using all 32 of its channels for that, it's a single cable only using 2. So if I carried on the same vein, shift click that top one, just right click that one, shift click this one, just right click that one. I've now got dense cable, 32 channels there. 32 channels there, 32 channels there, and 32 channels there. So I've got 128 channels coming down this one cable. So that's pretty much the basics of P2P tunneling. You could stop watching the video there because you understand enough to use P2P tunnels now. So you can, from one energy controller there, one controller, I could put another P2P tunnel on the bottom, but there's not enough space on this LAN. So this single controller, in theory, could put out another 32 channels off the bottom, but I'd have to use a separate smart cable because this is used up. It's got all 8 of its channels used up here. So basically, there you go. You could use that one controller. You could send things to 4 different sections of your factory and have 32 channels in each section, rather than just one. You could, of course, back to our original thing. You could get rid of all this. Should be using the wrench really. You can get rid of all this, and you could go like that, like that, like that, like that, and you've still got 128 channels. Yeah. So you're not. I'm kind of really overstressing it. You're not actually gaining any channels from this. You can gain channels using subnetworks, which I'm going to cover in a minute as well. But there we go. We've still got 128 channels, but now we're going to have to run dense cable all over the place. So if everything's down here, if you actually wanted to run, like when we made these ones, if you wanted to run all this that way, and this that way, and that one, instead of having a single line all the way to this processing area, now you've got to run 4 dense cables to your processing area. So that's the real benefit of P2P. I just want to show you here. This is kind of, again, still stressing that you're going to use the same 32 channels up. What I've done here, slightly different. Instead of having the P2P tunnel right on the ME controller, I've got a dense cable there. It's got 32 channel capability, of course. Let's just disconnect this all a minute. So we've got a dense cable there. At the minute, all it's got on it is nothing, because that P2P tunnel is actually on this thing here, so that's not actually taking a channel. That's feeding into it, yeah? So that is basically the same as having it connected there. What we can do here is we can put this on. So this is 8 channels. I'm just using terminals here. We've got 8 channels used on this single smart cable, going up to 8, you see, and that's using 8 channels there. Dark line, 4, another line, another 4. So on a dense cable, each 4 channels shows up as a line. So if you're using all 32 on that, that'd be like that. Well, that's using 8. That's only using 4. And that's before the P2P tunnel. Now we've got our little P2P tunnel here, and we've got 1, and we've got it output into 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's using all 8 channels on this line. 1 in, 7 out. Yeah? So you could be thinking, well, we've got 7 lots of 32. Now we've not. We've only got the 32 from here still. So that's connected to all these. If we connect one of these back up, that's going to connect okay. Nothing changes here because this is not to do with what connects after these. This is just the carrier for these P2P tunnels, yeah. And this guy's gone to 8 channels used. We're using 4 here before the tunnel. We're using 4 here after the tunnel. So if we carry on with that logic, 24, 32. That's going to light up all 32 channels getting used, even though some are before the P2P tunnel and some are after. If we connect something more to these, we've run out of channels. So if we go down here, connect that up, that guy is not going to get a channel because all 32 are used up. If we disconnect one off here, even though this is before the P2P channel, the P2P tunnel, so easy to mix words up with this. Even though that's before, that's freed up a channel for that guy to use, so he's come online. So now we can see the smart cables that are in this storage cell in here, because that's all that's in there. So that's basically just re-stressing there that you're not actually gaining any channels. How you can gain channels though is by using subnetworks. And what I've got here is, first of all, I want to disconnect that. So what I've created here is a little subnetwork using a ME interface and a ME storage bus. What this lets you do is it lets you connect. So we've got 32 channels coming out of there. And I'll start off with a small cable to make it a bit easy to see. And when we connect to this, we're using 1 channel. So it's lit up 1 channel, and we've got nothing in that ME interface. We've got nothing in that storage bus. But what we have got is we've got 6 things on here, and in the export buses we've got INR specified, so this can request INR, and there's some INR in there for a look. So INR in here, again, we're processing INR, just got SAG mills this time. What we've got here is 3 SAG mills, 3 export buses, each with INR in it. So even though there's nothing specified in this ME interface, it knows to put out INR because this is requesting it off this little subnetwork, because this is actual true subnetwork. And the ME import buses just putting back out in what it can put out to, and what it's doing, it's using this storage bus that's treating this network as a storage inventory. So basically it's just putting back into this storage cell because the storage bus is touching the ME interface. Nice little trick. It's quite cool. I like this. So what we're actually using here is 7 channels on this. We've got 3 channels for the export buses, 3 channels for the import buses, 1 channel for the storage bus. So that's our 7 channels there. Yep, 4 light, 4 dark and 3 light. What we're using on this, however, because we've only got an ME interface touching this, we're just using 1 channel. So instead of using that 7, we've condensed that down to 1. So what we can do, if we take that to conclusion, is first of all we could have a dense cable running along there, and I wanted to use a small one there because you can't actually see, because that won't light up unless it gets 4 things on it. So if I was to put 3 terminals on there, see, it's not lit up before that because that's only got 3 things on it. It is lit up after that because it's got 4 things on it. It's got them 3 things plus that interface 4 things. Cool. Carrying on from that, what we can do is, if we come connect down here, we have now got a P2P tunnel. Now a P2P tunnel goes from there to there. So this little orange network is exactly the same as this little orange network we had over here, this little sub network. Oh, exactly the same as this one. Exactly the same. Connected with a quartz fibre again, and this P2P tunnel has been shift clicked onto that one. What we've got after it is exactly the same setup as we've got there. So now we've got ME interface, ME storage bus, and we've got 7 free channels down here. I've not bothered putting more sag mills, but I'm just using terminals because they use up a channel. So there we go. We've got 8 channels used on this little network. Exactly the same as that. If we come back down here, you see we've only got 2 channels used there. No, we only 1 channel used there. I've lost count of how many channels I've used. That's still 4. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So even though we've come right down here, using 2 channels there, using 1 channel there, yeah, and that's correct, of course. And we're only using 1 channel AME interface there. So in theory, you could have 32 of these ME interfaces off the edge of this. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? And you could use P2P tunnels to get you there. So as you can see, you can spread out, you could get a lot more channels out using this on its own, but you can get even more out combining that with that, because you can then spread things out a bit. So there we go. That's using ME interface storage bus subnetwork with your P2P tunnels to create more channels, if you will. And of course you can do the same thing with more P2Ps on here, and you can have a big processing area and blah blah blah. Cool. So there's that bit done. Now this bit over here is slightly different. I'll show you. This is kind of like what I've seen of the Super Sorin drive that I've not actually seen any videos on, apart from when it's shown on Forgecraft. Sorin plays on the Forgecraft server and streams a lot. He created a storage method called the Super Sorin drive SSD, and it kind of uses this, I believe. What we've got here is, in fact, it might not use this at all because I've not looked at it. But what we've got here is similar to that setup over there. I'm going to change this around a little bit, but similar to that setup over there, we've got a P2P tunnel, and it's coming down here, and I've got 1 feeding across to 7 down here. So we've got 32 channels used up by these 32 ME drives. So if we look in the terminal here, we've got 1 ME controller, which is sat in there. 1 ME controller. Yeah? Right, well, in that, there's 1 thing in there. It's using 512 bytes and 1 for the... I think it uses 512 for the type, and it's using 1 byte for the actual storage. But all that's in there, if you take that out, is gone. Was that 1? And that can go in any of them, because these are all connected. So let's chuck it in that one. But that, as you can see there, each one of them is using a channel. So we get back to here, and we're using 32 channels and our P2P tunnel. So that there is using all 32. If I was to connect another one down here, we've now got too many things on there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's take that one off for a minute. Oops. So we're using all 8 on this, but of course, because this only has 32 channels to play with in the first place, if you look at this now, we've probably got, yeah, so it's kept all them online. They're all, and of course I'm not actually, let me shift click and then click onto that. What I think we'll get here, yeah, we have, look, what we've got here, instead of having all 32 of them, it's given us 16 of these and 16 of these. So if we look at this, 16 of these are not connected. the first 16 are closest star, and the first 16 are the closest star. So that's not ideal, we're not gaining anything from that. What we can do though, instead of doing it like this, what we can do is, if we take that off, that's now connecting directly to this. So it's getting 32 channels down there. So we can, what do I have to do here? Yeah, this is going to confuse me really badly, I can tell. Take that off, and what I can do now is, have I remembered how to do this properly? I think so. So what I can do now is, what I've got there is 1, 2. This is now using 7 channels because we've taken a storage bus off there. So in theory, we could put, not a storage bus, a P2P tunnel. Again, so easy to mix up words doing this. So we've got 8 on there now. So we've got none on this end, 8 on there. We're using all 8 channels of this. We've got 8 P2P tunnels there. What I can do is, if I do this, what we've got is, if I shift click that and click on that, and then shift click that and click on that, what we're going to find now is we've got 32 channels going into there and 32 channels going into there, even though they're not actually connected with a direct connection to the P2P tunnels that's feeding out to them. So what we're using the other side of this controller to feed 32 channels into that, 32 channels into that. So if you think logically about how you could expand this, if we get rid of that and make that into a dense cable, we're now only using 8 channels for that dense cable. So in theory, we could have another 8, 16, 30, 24. We could have another 24 P2P tunnels. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, so same as that line, we could have all these P2P tunnels, and what we could do, instead of having this on the side of this, what we could do is we could have a much bigger controller. Now the most you can go on a controller is 7 each way, so you're going to be limited by that. So what I want to do here is, if I was to go like this, and then P2P tunnels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if I put another one on the end of here, it's not going to work. See, it's gone red because that's too long. But what I can do is I can go in the corner, or I could have gone up, or this way, or whatever. So you can make funky shapes out of these that you've probably seen on people's videos. What I could do with this is, I'm doing all this in red cable, so it's making it more complicated than it needs to be possibly. Let's get rid of that, to confuse things. I don't want to do that, because that's taking a channel like it was before. So if I do that, there we go, that's going to power all them. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. What we can do with them 8 is we could connect them 8 to those 8, and then we could have another 8 connected to another 8. So as you can see, you can create massive amounts of storage using this expanding thing all off this one LAN going to your storage. I don't think that is actually how the self-storage drive works. I think it uses a storage bus in it as well, so it actually creates more channels. So this is actually not actually creating any more channels, is it? So again, so ignore that bit earlier, but self-storage drive, this is not how he actually does that. Now one more thing I want to cover, but that is, as you can see, a way of getting loads, a massive amount of storage from one controller setup. What you can also do, and this is from my friend Koyanti, who did a video on this, which really helped me understanding this whole mod a little bit, to be honest. So I'll put a link to that video in this. What I've got here is, I've got something similar to what I've just made there, the fact that I've got one ME chest, we've just got an ME drive in it. I don't know why I've got all them, don't need all them energy cells. And off that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 P2P tunnels feeding into a smart cable. What I'm doing this time though is I'm feeding it into a separate ME controller. So what that does is there's 8 P2P tunnels going into that, but what we can have coming out of this is 32. In theory, we could have 32 coming into this, or even more. I don't know, is 32 the limit coming in as well? Yeah, it's going to be, because it's going to be a dense cable. So in theory, this could be, again, a dense cable. And we could have a lot more. Of course, each one of these is only 32 channels, of course, yeah? But you could have a lot of channels coming into this ME controller. This ME controller is taking power from them cables. You don't actually have to do the power thing. This power source here is connected to them using that quartz fibre. But that, because that's going to there, it's connected directly to that. Ignore that bit for the time being. What you can see with this is we are feeding, we're just using 2 channels, that dense cable, and we're feeding 8 P2P tunnels into this ME controller, which can then feed out 32 channels. So each one of them 32 coming out can then feed down to more tunnels, and each tunnel here is connected to one over there. So that tunnel there is connected right down here to that one there. So as you can see, 32 channels into that tunnel is 32 channels coming out here. So I've just put terminals on. So each one of these terminals is showing that ME drive that's in the terminal back there. So each one of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, each 8 of them lines up to one of the 8 of them. And it's all coming out that side. Well, that's not all you can do, because we've got more sides that can come into this. So I've got a similar setup here, exactly the same, apart from this one hasn't even got a power source. This one's got a creative energy cell. This one hasn't. All it's got is a ME chest. So if I connect them back up into there, that's using all 8 of its channels, exactly the same as that setup. 8 P2P tunnels going into the side of the ME controller, and they're coming out this same LAN. Now this dense cable here is only using 16 channels. It's using 8 down there, it's using 8 down there. And of course these 8 are connected to them 8. So what I've got is exactly the same thing here. So if in our storage chest over here, we've got a Super Builder's wand. Cool. And if we look in these terminals here, we've got a Super Builder's wand. That's that same one. So as you can see, we've got 2. Well, that's, I suppose that classes our main network there, because it's the one with the power. But we've got this kind of like a hub feeding out into this. So you could have this as a process room with loads of things. Again, check Koyanti's video. He has it set up so 192 machines, I think, can run off one controller if you feed, if you use all the other 5 sides to feed into it. So this again is like a sub network which is feeding another, can feed another 32 in. So let's say I'm not even using a quarter of the capability, just these 2. So this in theory could have, I mean, it could have a, no, again the same. If I came out here, I could have another 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you know. Hope I'm making sense. I could have more controllers down here, like that. And I'm going to need a power source. So what they're doing is, rather than putting power in through that, they're actually taking power out of this through that quartz fibre. So that's actually putting power out through that. So there's another 5 lots of 32, 8 lots of 32 that we could add on to this. I should have maybe not done that red, but yeah, red shows it up alright actually, doesn't it? So we could have them 8 connected, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then if we came up here with dense cable, and let's connect that guy to that guy, and let's put on a terminal on the end here. So you can see it can get massively complicated, and of course we need something stored in that network. So let's grab a chest, a 64k cell. Don't know why I had to be a 64k, I'm just showing off. And let's put in, oh, a Yeti wrench. So now you're going to see down there is a Yeti wrench in that terminal, because all these ones can be connected to that. So you can create, these are not talking to each other, of course. So these are actually separate networks. So what you see in that one, you can't actually see in that one. So that one's only showing what's connected to that one. I'm just more showing you how the cables can connect. I'm sure you could storage bus this stuff. That's maybe how the thing does, the SSD does work. You could probably storage bus connect these so that you can actually see what's in the other networks. That makes sense, doesn't it? So there we go. That's something that's a bit more advanced than what I'm at. But there we go. That's your basic start of P2P tunneling, from a little simple network just to run a single cable across that you can expand out into 128 channels from 32 just from one controller there, and one smart cable. If you remember, our orange smart cable that we had set up was running 132 once we had it how it was set up originally, like so. Back in the day, earlier on in the episode, in the video, and just connect that back again for clarity. So we have our thing there that's pushing full 32 channels. Something's not connected. What's not connected? I don't know. Oh, that one there. There we go. So we can use one cable from 32 across. So oh, it's still using only 32. Oh, we can use sub networks, using storage buses, interfaces, and how you can split things and stuff. So there we go. I hope the video was informative. If I've got anything glaringly wrong, like I said at the start, please let me know. If you have any questions, please let me know. If I can't answer them, I'm sure someone in my comments will, because I've got wonderful viewers who let me know all kinds of awesome stuff. And I hope I see you next time. Cheers. Okay, then back with a little addendum that I just thought I'd play with while I was saving the video. And yeah, if you do the same thing with the ME interface and the storage bus, so I've got coming out the side of these, so I'm separate, actually using one channel out of this network and two out of this one, because this one's got two storage buses on it, and this one has got an ME interface, and this one is using one channel on an ME interface. And what we can do down here now is, if we put on a terminal, we can actually now see what's in all three of the little networks there. So that's three separate networks, but they're all interfaced into that one ME terminal there. So as you can see, there's massive capabilities with this thing for really getting nuts with it if you want to. So yeah, there we go. Cheers. Bye.